WPTV.
Welcome back. Pitchers and catchers have reported to spring training, so you know what that means. Baseball is back. The first slate of games is set to kick off February 23rd with the new-look Yankees taking on the Tigers and, I guess you could say, the new-look Mets taking on the Braves. But before we dive into our hometown teams, we'll start with Darvish's freshly signed mega deal. It's been a weird offseason. There's still a ton of free agents that have yet to be signed, but there's a couple players that we know will have a home by opening day, and Darvish was one of them. The Cubs inked up Darvish for the next 6 years, paying him $126 million. He was traded to the Dodgers at the deadline last season, and that wound up being huge. He helped propel the team to its first World Series since 1988, beating his future team, the Cubs, in the NLCS. Now his focus has shifted towards beating his former club. Darvish said, quote, "My main goal is to beat the Dodgers," end quote. We're going to welcome in our insider, Stephen Bologna, to help us decipher all of this hoopla. So, Stephen, except for his lone World Series appearance, Darvish was a solid starter last year. He helped bring the Dodgers to the World Series for the first time in 3 decades, and the Dodgers brought him to his first World Series ever. So what's this beef all of a sudden?
Well, Joe, as you know, 2017 was a contract year for Darvish, and he kind of underperformed for the Rangers. So they shipped him off to the Dodgers, and he played well. He went 4-3 in those starts, but when it got to the postseason, he kind of fell asleep. He had 2 World Series starts, and he only went to 2 innings in those games. And for 2 reasons, I believe he left the Dodgers. Number one, every professional athlete's dream, the money. The Dodgers are currently 3rd in highest payroll this year, and they would not be able to pay him his $25 million deal that he got with the Cubs. And number 2, Darvish wants to be the guy. He wants to be the ace of a team, which he gets with the Cubs, but not with the Dodgers. As we all know, the Dodgers have the best pitcher in the MLB with Clayton Kershaw.
This is a long-term commitment for a lot of money. Darvish is already 31 years old, so who are the fools here? The Cubs for committing to him or the Dodgers for passing on him?
Well, personally, I don't think there's any fool here. I think the fool, if there would be one, would be the Cubs for signing him to such a long deal for the amount of money. I think, you sign him to this deal, you beef up the starting rotation. You have guys like Lester, who's a good veteran, Tyler Chatwood, who came over from Colorado, who's a nice young pitcher, and you have Jose Quintana, who had a bounce-back 2017. But for the Dodgers, you could have used them down the stretch, but I would love to see a good postseason pitcher. And if Darvish could help that, I think they'll be good.
Now, this pretty much closes the door on Jake Arrieta returning to the Cubs. Stephen, who do you think would be a better choice? And now, what's next for Arrieta?
Well, personally, I'm a big Arrieta fan. I think Arrieta would have been the better fit with the Cubs. He's known the organization for longer. Plus, he also won the 2015 Cy Young and went 22-6 that year. He had a few rough years the past 2, but Darvish, he's had very inconsistency, and he can't pitch in the playoffs, which Arrieta has a better track record. So personally, they would have got the same amount of money. They're the same age, but you have Scott Boras with Arrieta, and he's kind of a stickler with money, and he's going to hold off Arrieta until he gets the right deal, which, it's tough because spring training has started and pitchers and catchers have reported. So, you're going to want to get that bond with the catcher and the team, which Arrieta is going to lack coming into the season.
Thanks, Stephen. That was Stephen Bologna with the latest. Now we're going to shift gears towards the Yankees, who unexpectedly added a few pieces of their own. The Yankees added MVP Giancarlo Stanton to their already heavy power lineup featuring Aaron Judge. Now the question is, how can you fit the 2 clones in the outfield together? Manager Aaron Boone weighed in.
They'll both be very much a part of the process, and it'll be something that kind of is not set in stone right now and is something that will unfold now over the next 5 or 6 weeks about what are the final roles that we view for them.
Now we welcome in our Yankees guru, Jake Bailey, who I know is jumping out of his shoes for this upcoming season. Jake, we heard what Aaron Boone had to say. Everybody is excited for this outfield, but it's a crowded outfield. You have Jacoby Ellsbury, Clint Frazier, Brett Gardner, Aaron Hicks, Aaron Judge, and now Giancarlo Stanton. 6 outfielders, there's only 3 spots. Something has to give. What's it going to be?
Well, the Yankees clearly have issues at third base and second base. They have Gleyber Torres down in their minor league system, which you will hope comes up this season. I mean, we're probably not going to see him at the beginning of the year, but eventually. So they have things to address. The Yankees can make a deal with one of those guys. Ellsbury and Gardner, most likely the guys I think they should get rid of. I think Clint Frazier will be the guy that goes because he probably has the most trade value. But honestly, seeing Giancarlo Stanton in the DH role probably will help the team a lot more.
There's no question the Yankees have the lineup to lead them to the postseason, but what's going on with the starting pitching? We talked about Darvish and the Cubs earlier. Are the Yankees in the market for Jake Arrieta now?
I mean, certainly, anything's possible with the Yankees. We saw it in the Giancarlo Stanton trade. Anything is possible. They could certainly land a guy like Jake Arrieta to beefing up that rotation. You got Luis Severino, Masahiro Tanaka, Jordan Montgomery, C. Sabathia, and Sonny Gray right there. That's a pretty solid 5. But adding Jake Arrieta to that really puts them in the World Series conversation.
Jake, before we let you go, Aaron Judge was seen inside the MLB The Show studio showing off his bat flip, as we show you now on the screen. Judge is actually on the cover for this year's edition. He was an easy winner of Rookie of the Year last season after 52 dingers. What are the odds that he can repeat this production?
Well, hopefully there's no Madden curse in the show this year, so I think Aaron Judge will repeat his success. I think his numbers will improve due to the fact that they got Giancarlo Stanton backing him up in the lineup. That's going to help him a huge amount, just like it helped Prince Fielder, Miggy Cabrera. It helped Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder. It's just going to be that cushion that, it's going to protect him in the lineup.
All right, thank you, Jake. That was Jake Bailey giving us our inside scoop on the Yankees. Now we're going to head over to the other side of town, the more somber side of town. Mets fans are back to being miserable as the Yankees have retaken over the town. It's the same old story. The Mets just simply aren't spending the money. Or are they? According to Spot Track, they've actually spent the 5th most money this offseason, following the Brewers, the Rockies, the Angels, and now the Cubs. They've spent $72 million in free agents, which is 3rd in baseball, and $42 million on their arbitration-eligible players. All in all, they've spent $115 million. Shocking, right? With that, we'll bring in our Mets insider, Chris Douglas, to tell us whether these moves will actually pay off. It's clear the Mets have spent the money, but did they spend the money in the right places? They picked up some big names in Jay Bruce, Todd Frazier, and Adrian Gonzalez. But is this just another year that the Mets sign washed up out of their prime players, or did these signings actually make sense, Chris?
Jay Bruce and Todd Frazier absolutely make sense to me. They're going to fit in with this veteran culture. They're going to help set the culture. Both guys love New York. The signing that I have an issue with is Adrian Gonzalez. I'm not sure he's going to be a permanent fit at first base. We know that Cody Bellinger came on strong and took his spot for the Dodgers last season, so we're going to have to see what Adrian Gonzalez can bring to the team this year. Frazier and Bruce can also play first if Gonzalez's project does not work out, and that's the important thing that you have to remember.
They seem satisfied with their lineup, but reiterate that they're still in the market for a starting pitcher. I would bet my life that they don't make a push for Arrieta. So who is a realistic option for the starting rotation?
Well, I actually have breaking news for you, Joe. The Mets have signed Kansas City Royals All-Star from 2017, Jason Vargas. He's a former Met. Last year he was 18-11 on a team that was only 80-82. So he's going to provide a big boost in the middle of this rotation. He's a top-of-the-rotation guy. I think he's going to fit in right behind Syndergaard and DeGrom as the 3rd starter.
So breaking news, Vargas is now a New York Met. The Mets have also signed Todd Frazier. He obviously loves New York, but he was born and raised in Toms River, about an hour from here. He played for the Yankees last season, but according to Frazier, his son is apparently a Mets fan now.
We asked him what colors he wants for his birthday party, and he said blue and orange. And I'm like, where's this coming from? I don't know. I just like the Mets. All of a sudden, 2 weeks from now, and I'm a Met. So I'm like, buddy, give me some pick 6 numbers or something, so we don't have to live in New Jersey anymore.
A pretty good start, at least in PR for Frazier, before he even steps foot on the field. But reports have said that he's considered as the leadoff hitter for the Mets in 2018. Low average, few walks, a lot of strikeouts, no speed. What makes Frazier an ideal candidate for the leadoff position, Chris?
He sees a lot of pitches. He swings at good pitches to hit, and he's not going to go after anything that is out of the zone, anything that he shouldn't be swinging at. He's not a leadoff hitter to me in my eyes. I think Brandon Nimmo is much more fit for the role as far as opening day because the Mets will be without Michael Conforto. I do not see Todd Frazier as a leadoff hitter under any circumstance, but on a team with no speed, it's about seeing pitches at the top of the lineup and getting to the beef of the lineup. So maybe Frazier at the leadoff spot will work just because of the Mets' lack of speed in the rest of the lineup.
Thanks, Chris. So again, spring training is set to kick off a week from today on February 23rd. Mets taking on the Braves, Yankees taking on the Tigers. Coming up next, what do our guys think of the NBA All-Star Game format? Yay or nay? Basketball is next. We'll be right back.